going on, guys? Welcome back to this week's episode of Outside the Arena with Rob and Griff. I'm Griff and Senek, joined by my co-host Rob Goldberger, and today we're back once again. Another week of NFL football. We're going to talk some college football today. We're going to talk some NBA today. Obviously, baseball this past week. I believe it was. I don't know if it was this past, either last weekend or the weekend before, but they're in a full lockdown now. So we're not going to really be talking about baseball probably for few months, I'd say, at least potentially. I mean, it really could be till late January, early February before things pick up. We'll be on that as soon as it does and free agency opens back up. But until then, we're really NFL and NBA from here on out. But we will start with college football. Obviously, the playoff was released this past week. Alabama, the 1 seed, Michigan, the 2, Georgia, the 3 after their loss to Alabama in the SEC championship, and Cincinnati at 4. So that sets up obviously Bama versus Cincy and Michigan versus Georgia. It's going to be an interesting one. Obviously 2 of the teams that have kind of been the powerhouses, 3 even, with Oklahoma, Ohio State, and Clemson, teams missing the playoffs this year.
I don't know if you can quite put Oklahoma into that category, considering they haven't won.
Not anymore, but in the last few years they've been.
No, they've been consistent. They've been consistent, but
obviously now it's.
I think the Big 12
going downhill.
I think the Big 12 has lost itself a lot of respect recently, though, with their performances with Oklahoma's performances in the playoffs.
Yeah, no, I think Oklahoma. I don't think you'd say that they're in that group, but they had been in that group for the past few seasons or so. So regardless, some new faces. Michigan, Georgia's been in there a bit, but not too much. And Cincy, obviously, first appearance. So, just your initial thoughts, Rob. I think the consensus thought is kind of that Cincinnati's in for a rough one against Alabama. But that middle game is going to be very interesting. Michigan, Georgia. What are your thoughts on the 2 games? How do you see these playing out?
I'm going to go. I think Bama is going to win by a lot of points. I like Cincinnati. I think they're a really good team, but I think this Alabama team, this is a really good football team. And Will Anderson, arguably the best player in the country. I think he got snubbed from being a Heisman finalist. I think he'd probably be the number 1 pick if he was draft eligible this year. The rest of that defense is incredible. And obviously, they have maybe the best QB they've had out of all of their recent guys, which is pretty insane considering they have a lot of, multiple NFL quarterbacks right now. I don't know. I'm going to go with Bama over Cincy. And I'm going to ask you a question, Griffin, after I make a prediction for the next game, which I'm going to go with Georgia here. I do think Georgia and Alabama are a class above everybody else, even though Alabama did embarrass Georgia. And I think Alabama is probably in their own tier of team as well. But I'm going with Georgia. I know that defense got a little bit exposed. I know they have Aiden Hutchinson, on with Michigan, and David Obo, who's probably going to be 2 top 10 picks right there on the defensive line. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Georgia here. I don't know, unless Stetson Bennett, or Stetson Bennett, aren't they? Is that their plan?
Yes, I think so.
He is terrible. He shouldn't be playing. We've seen it come back to bite them in the past, obviously, with them, opting for Jake Fromm over Justin Fields, and something, similar situation can be happening here with Stetson Bennett over JT Daniels, but yeah, I'm gonna go with Georgia here, unless there's a total disaster. Total disaster with Stetson.
Yeah.
And sorry, my question for you, Griffin, is: do you feel that these teams were misseeded, or do you think that this is the proper ranking for each team?
It's tough to say. I feel like it's probably a fair ranking. I think Alabama, you got to put them at 1. They've had good wins. I know that Texas A&M was who they lost to, I believe.
Yeah, on the last second field goal.
That was a bad loss. They played bad against Auburn, but the way they beat Georgia, that was a beating against, the consensus number 1 at that time. So you got to kind of give them the 1. I think Michigan, I think they deserve the 2. And I think, comparing them with Georgia, I think really what holds Michigan above, they both have solid wins, but it's just that conference championship. Yeah. Michigan was the Big Ten champions. Georgia was not, they didn't win the SEC. So I think you got to put Michigan above, obviously, Georgia. And then, Cincinnati, they belong at 4, to be honest. It's just strength of schedule is just nowhere near any of these teams. Yes, they went undefeated. They had a great season. They won their conference. But, they're going to get bounced in the first round. I think everyone expects that. I feel like it's going to be symbolic or similar to that game from last year of Alabama and Notre Dame in terms of just, I mean, that wasn't even, I guess that was a little bit
the year
closer.
before, or the year before that with LSU and Oklahoma. I mean, these
Yeah.
these 1-4 games are very, very rarely close.
I mean, last year we saw Ohio State beat up on, number 2 Clemson at the time too. So
yeah, so sure.
the 2-3 game is usually the best game, I would
The
say.
SEC is unbelievable, though. I mean, I can't really. I mean, I don't really see how Texas and Oklahoma are going to succeed there. Because what are they? What would you say they are? I mean, I think each of these teams, Texas might have 10 losses instead of 8. I mean, and I think Oklahoma is a 5-6 loss team in the SEC. I mean, I just think
Yeah.
the SEC and the Big Ten really sort of taking.
Oklahoma hired, what is his name, Varabels or something like that?
Brett Venables.
DC. Yeah.
They must. I wouldn't be surprised if Dabo Sweeney is going to the NFL too soon because his offense coordinator also just left to go be the head coach of Virginia.
Clemson's kind of falling apart a little bit.
That's
slowly,
what I'm saying.
but
So I wouldn't
surely.
be surprised if Dabo. I think Dabo will probably be the successor to Nick Saban in Alabama, but I'm sure Nick Saban won't be stepping down from that job anytime soon. So, yeah, those are my
Yeah,
thoughts.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
a whole nother thing. I'll real quick give my thoughts on the Georgia Michigan game, and then we can talk about all this head coach madness that has ensued in college football because we haven't touched on it. I think Georgia Michigan is going to be a good game. I mean, this is strength versus strength. This game's going to be one of the trenches. I really don't know who's going to win this game. I think both quarterbacks are very questionable. I think Michigan more so. McNamara.
Yeah.
I mean, he just sucks. I mean, I got to get a better guy in there than him.
I'm not so sure Stetson Bennett is any better though, Griffin.
They both stink, but I mean, Hassan Haskins, I mean, that's the key for Michigan. If they can run this football, they're going to be in this game. But obviously, with that Georgia D line, Jordan Davis, and all of them, it's going to be tough. I'd say I lean Georgia. I mean, they were just so dominant. But I mean, with Michigan, I mean, the way that defense is playing right now, they are just it's a very, very strong unit. The way they played, they beat up on Iowa, forcing turnovers. Ohio State, they couldn't get anything. I mean, Ohio State offensively, they didn't have a bad game. They just, defensively they fell apart, but offensively it was mediocre. But like you said, those edge rushers, Hutchinson and then Ojabo, I believe is his last name. I might botch that. But I mean, those kids are just exceptional. Aiden Hutchinson, especially. I think at this point, obviously you've got Thibodeau, or however you pronounce his last name. I apologize, from Oregon. But those two are the top 2 picks, it seems. And I think Hutchinson really has proved himself. And I think it seems like these teams always kind of go with the guy who's hot and who had better last year. So I expect Hutchinson, to be honest, to go first overall, if I had to say right now, to the Detroit Lions.
I can't even predict that because everything changes so much. I mean, one week it's this guy, one week it's the next guy.
If the draft was today, Michigan from University of Michigan.
Well, that's a whole different issue.
Detroit boy.
That's a whole different issue.
I mean,
I think the Lions will probably opt for Hutchinson because obviously he's from Michigan. So
I think, yeah. So if I had to say Aiden Hutchinson goes number 1 in the Lions right now. But yeah, I'm going to go with a Georgia. I'm going to go with Georgia in this game, but it's going to be close. I really see this going either way. I just think Georgia, you just can't discredit them. They played really well. And the one thing I want to ask you, Rob, I mean, obviously this head coaching thing is just, it is,
yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable what's going on. Names are just going crazy. We've seen, obviously, Lincoln Riley, is that his name? There's so many guys. Lincoln Riley go to USC, obviously. I mean, I've read some of the things of his contract, like $100 million deal, like has access to private jets. They buy him like 4 houses. I mean, this is unbelievable stuff. I mean, it's incredible how much money is in college football. You see, what's his face? Chip Kelly, I believe, go to LSU. Held that meeting Brian Kelly. There's so many of these idiots. Chip Kelly is at UCLA, I believe.
Right, but there's talk that he might be going back to Oregon.
I mean, it's just crazy what's going on. We saw Mario Cristobal, I believe, is the new head coach at University of Miami.
Which I'm not really sure I understand from his perspective, to be 100% honest with you. Because, I mean, I get he's Miami.
I think Miami is a bit more of a desirable location. I
And I
think
guess
Miami. I
I
mean,
think
they've been a bad team recently. That's very shocking. I mean, they've produced some good NFL players. Greg Rousseau,
I'm
Jalen
also not.
Phillips have been great.
I'm also not 100% convinced that Cristobal it really is a great coach. I mean, they're paying him a lot of money. Do this.
They're
I
paying
don't
all
know.
these guys a lot of. It's crazy. I mean, when I grow up, I might just try and be a college football coach at this point. I mean, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. What do you think? So, what are your thoughts on the whole thing? What's going on? And obviously, you kind of touched on Cristobal, but maybe like the Lincoln Ryan. I mean, that was crazy the amount of
I
money they
mean,
gave him.
I think it really does shift the whole landscape of how the West Coast is viewed in college football circles. I mean, they've really haven't produced a serious contender in 7 years, since obviously the Marcus Mariota led Oregon team. Um, I don't know. I mean, this is something. If USC football was going to be serious, this is what they needed to do, and they did it. I mean, that's how I feel. I think it's a pretty, if I can use some profanity here, I think it's going to be. I think it's a pretty shitty way to sort of leave your kids and all that.
Yeah.
And that's such a downside to college football, and that's why I mean, it really is a brutal situation. I mean, getting recruited by a guy, courted by a guy, and then you commit there, you're there. I mean, Norman, Oklahoma. I mean, I've never been there, but I'm not 100% guys would rather be there than the Los Angeles, California for their college experience. Um, so I don't know. I mean, obviously we've seen a ton of OU coaches and OU commits follow Lincoln Riley, but I really do feel bad for a lot of these players, and that goes to show for all the situations. I mean, Brian Kelly has been getting universally made fun of. I'm sure you've seen this
Yeah.
for the video where he sort of fakes the sudden accident. I don't know. It's just everybody's it's very phony. I think a lot college football is very phony, and I think there's a lot of aspects of it that I mean we obviously I don't know where I'm going here, but basically I'm going to say the NCAA is corrupt. These universities are extremely corrupt. I mean, I'm not one for having being an uproar, but I mean, so you see some of these other. I just think for a public university, like for coming from the public government, like for Oklahoma, which is an LSU, like you're spending like $20 million a year on a football coach. Like, what are you doing? I just don't get it, and I don't get how anyone can like. It's such a tough situation, and it really is like it kind of sucks to see because these players really are pawns. I think nothing more to like boosters and ads, and I don't know about coaches because coaches do have to build these personal relationships, but I think like these boosters in college football have some bad stuff going on, and it's been that way for a long time. And I think college football has really gone away from what it was. I mean, the college football playoff, it's kind of a disaster right now. I mean, people are calling it worse than the BCS, and that the BCS is one of the worst systems I've ever seen in determining anything. I don't know. College football, I don't know. The play is awesome, but the people who run it are not, and I think that's been true for a long time.
I mean, I think this whole thing, this whole recent events has just really opened my eyes to how really much of a role these coaches do play and how
Yeah, no,
important they are in
it's.
the recruitment process.
Can I interject for 1 second?
Yeah.
We'll talk about Urban Meyer later due to that report that came out today. That sort of is. Did you see that, Griffin?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
Him
that's.
calling out his coaches and
Yeah, I mean, I think that sort of might be signaling the end of his time in Jacksonville, um, which has kind of been a disaster. But at the college level, these coaches are the star players, man. I mean, these guys are the stars. They recruit, they do everything, they program build, they raise money, everything, and that's why you see Nick Saban, the greatest college football coach ever by a wide margin, was a mediocre NFL coach at best. I mean, and we saw it today. I mean, Marvin Jones Jr. said of Urban Meyer, he said he's not treating us like grown adults, and this is a guy who was coached by Matt Patricia for 3 years. So I mean, it's just so tough to make that make it's a huge distinction. But sorry, continue with what you were saying, Griff. I didn't mean to.
yeah, I mean, it's crazy the amount of money that is in these coaches and that these coaches are getting paid. I mean, the Lincoln Riley thing, I mean, it just blew my mind, all those kind of incentives and all that. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But it really shows the value and the money that is in college football and how important. I mean, USC, their program just changed completely. You already see all these 5 stars committing.
Yeah.
They're going to be in a whole new ball game. Obviously, the Pac-12. I mean, that's a very winnable conference. for a team like USC now all of a sudden that has Lincoln Riley and all those top recruits coming, and it's a desirable location too. I mean, Los Angeles,
Well,
California.
it's not
I mean,
only
really,
and it's not only that.
USC could really become a powerhouse here. I'm going to be
I
honest. Like,
mean, return to being a powerhouse. I mean, USC obviously.
yes,
I just want to add this. I mean, the USC I think was probably fed up from seeing all these recruits. Sorry, got the booster yesterday. It's bothering me a little. But USC has been trying to keep these recruits in South Carolina for years. These Los Angeles area recruits, which is some of the obviously the highest talent in the country, plays there. Some of the best high school football is played in Los Angeles, and they really haven't been able to do it. They've been losing it to SEC schools and Big Ten schools, and obviously you saw that 5-star quarterback from one of the Los Angeles high schools committed there and decommitted from OU almost as soon as Lincoln Riley was hired. I mean,
yep.
it's just gonna be huge for keeping. I think overall with the Pac-12 too. I think one of two things is going to happen to the Pac-12. Either everybody is going to spend a ton of money and the conference is going to get super competitive and start to compete with the best, like the Big Ten and the SEC, or it will fade into irrelevancy and USC will dominate it for the next 10 years. And I think there's a high chance everybody starts spending money. I really do. And I think this could really revolutionize West Coast football as a whole. It really is insane, the butterfly effect in college football, so much more so than almost any other sport you'll ever see. The head coaching hires and fires and just
it really is insane. And I mean, I think we kind of covered that whole deal too well. I don't want to spend too much time on it.
Yeah, but
so
an interesting topic.
That does it. Very, very interesting. But now we're going to talk a little bit about the NBA. We really haven't talked too much about the NBA in general. It has been a crazy start to the season. I mean, I'm going to just pull up the standings real quick as a kind of refresher. But obviously in the West, you've got the Golden State Warriors, Phoenix Suns. They're both 21-4. So they have been, I mean, Golden State, no Klay Thompson right now. I believe James Wiseman still not back. Could be wrong. But I mean, that is a powerhouse. They are back. Lakers, I mean, high expectations. They're only a game above 500 right now at the 6th seed. In the East, I mean, it's been a very interesting year. A team like the Knicks, just immediately back to not really looking very good. My Cleveland Cavs, which I'll talk about.
Yeah, they've been out. Evan Mobley.
They've played amazing. I mean, a lot of people were questioning all their moves with all these big men, but it is sure panned out for them. But obviously, Rob.
I do want you to know, I was pro Evan Mobley. I was very pro Evan Mobley before the draft. And
he's a good player. He's a very good. I think he's the best rookie. Good. And yeah, I think a lot of people would agree. But yeah, kind of, I don't know if you want to break down anything specifically, but kind of your general thoughts so far about the NBA so far and any specific things you want to talk about.
It seems like the Ben Simmons deal is probably going to get done in the next week or so. I'm sure you saw that report yesterday from Woj.
Yeah.
I've talked about it enough on this podcast. I'm not going to touch on it anymore. Yeah. We'll probably record a clip or talk about it on the podcast when he does eventually get traded. But a team that I've really liked this year, and I think you'll agree, is the Chicago Bulls have been outstanding this year.
Yes.
With a tough schedule too. I mean, they haven't been beating up on cupcakes. I mean, they went. I know both teams were missing some players, but the Bulls went to Los Angeles, beat the Lakers and the Clippers, and then went to New York and beat the Nets and the Knicks. I mean, teams rarely do. They're teams that are rarely do that. DeMar DeRozan has been outstanding this year. I think the East is really wide open. I think a team like the Sixers, I'm going to sound so biased here, but a team like the Sixers, really, there's just so many teams that I think are just treading water. Cavs, Wizards, Sixers, even the Heat at this stage. I think the Sixers need a second star. I mean, that's the only path to a championship. And I think they're probably going to be a second round exit again without it. They're still a really good regular season team. Their record is like 9-4, 10-5 with Joel Embiid. And they've been ravaged by COVID otherwise. But yeah, I mean, there are a lot of teams. I think I love what I've seen out of the Charlotte Hornets. LaMelo Ball is a real star. And then the disappointments of the East so far have been the Hawks and the Celtics.
And the Knicks, I think you got to.
And the Knicks. Sorry, I was just going to say the Knicks, the Hawks, the Celtics, and the Knicks, who have really not played well at all. The Atlanta Hawks, I'm really disappointed by. I really thought this is a team that could win 50 games this year, and that's obviously not going to be the case unless they go on a crazy winning streak. But I don't know. I mean, The NBA is crazy at the moment. I mean, the Houston Rockets had one of the worst 20-game paces of all time, and now all of a sudden, I mean, how many have they won in a row? Sorry, let me count really quickly. I mean, they lost to the Bucks by 9 last night, but before that, they had won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in a row after starting out the year with 2 wins, which is just unbelievable. I mean, the NBA this season, I think it really has returned. I think I really like when the NBA has a lot of parity. I couldn't tell you who's going to win the NBA championship. I could if Kyrie Irving was playing, but he's not, which is something completely separate.
Yeah.
But I just think this league is so wide open. I love when it's wide open. I think there are a few different teams who could win the West, and I think still there are really only 2 teams who could win the East. But I really think, for me, I think the 2 strongest teams right now, if everyone were to be healthy in each conference, are the Warriors and the Bucks. But I think there are a lot of good teams in the NBA and the East, and you're seeing that West-East power shift after years and years of West domination. It looks like the East is sort of taking that throne, which is pretty crazy to see.
Yeah, I mean I think it's just a shift in age of this talent. I mean, you look at the East Conference; they've got some real young superstars. Brian, you mentioned LaMelo Ball.
And guys right in
I
the
mean,
middle of their
Bradley
prime, too.
Beal is Yeah, Bradley Beal is fantastic. Giannis, you've got, and now, I mean, the Chicago
Mhm.
Bulls, like you mentioned, they've gone out and they've gotten guys, and you look at how good that team is. They have great depth too. I mean, they've had good picks. They have guys like Pat Williams, Kobe White, Caruso's played pretty well, but I mean, obviously that big four of Lonzo's been so good this year too. Lonzo's really improved. Um, Zach LaVine, you've got DeMar, like you said, Vucevic. I mean, it's just a great team that they've got. They're doing such a good job. I mean, I'm going to talk about my
Zach
Cleveland
LaVine,
Cavs. I mean,
Zach LaVine has really taken that leap to being an elite shooting guard. I think he's
yeah.
an unbelievable player.
No, he's great. I mean, the Cleveland Cavs I got to talk about because I mean, it's just such a successful year so far. 15-12. I mean, I this in my mind, this is one of the best defenses
Oh, it
in
is.
the league, to be honest. I mean, they are just so strong that perimeter. I mean, the Evan Mobley is just a superstar. I mean, he can
Yeah,
do
he
it
is.
all on the
Yeah, he
court.
is. I
He can
think this
guard the
guy.
perimeter. He can, guard interior. He can shoot. He can do it all. I mean, he's just amazing.
He's a guy who makes defense fun to watch, which is a really rare trait among NBA players. I mean, he has a lot of highlight blocks, all everything, and I think once he develops his offensive game, I think this is Anthony Davis 2.0. I really do. Um, and Darius Garland, he's going to be an All-Star this year.
He's
He's going to be an All-Star.
Darius Garland has taken the leap, and I think that is what the biggest difference is. Obviously, Colin Sexton is out, but I think it's honestly been better for this team. I mean, I think Sexton's a great player,
Yeah,
but I mean, he is just he's a shooter. He doesn't really do too much else other than really shoot the ball. He's a great shooter. I mean, I'll always remember that game against the Brooklyn Nets last year with
yeah.
that
Oh
big
my
three, and he
God.
just single-handedly beat them. I mean, I will always remember that. I feel like, but like you said, I mean, Darius Garland, this kid is unbelievable. I mean, he can shoot the ball. He's become a great passer. He is, exactly the type of point guard you need. He's an all-star. Jarrett Allen,
Yeah.
sensational player. That's a great deal. So, I mean, you look at this team, they've got other pieces. Lauri Markkanen has played fine when he's been in there. Chetty Osman, who's one of my personal favorites, he's played well. Kevin Love, another guy who's, stepped up when, there's been some doubt. He's played well off the bench. Okoro's getting better. He's improving throughout the year. He had a slow start. But it's a lot of pieces, and they've done really well. Their defense is great. They're a young, feisty team, and that's it kind of reminds me a little bit of the Knicks last year. But I think it's a better team than that Knicks team from last year. It's just a young team, guys who want to win, and the Cavs are. I think they're legit. I mean, you could look at the first. I mean, I know it's still early in the season, but after the first, 7-8 games, I think people are like, okay, maybe this team's doing something.
No,
We'll
I
see when
think
they
that
fall off. We're 27 games into the
no,
season. I mean,
I think this is a team that could win a playoff series.
I think this team. I mean, honestly, this team is legit. I mean, the New York Knicks. I mean, I don't even really know if they're worth talking about. I mean, I just think they were kind of had a good year last year. Randall really played above his pay grade. He's kind of declined a little bit this year. RJ Barrett. I mean, we hear this guy's improving like crazy. He's been fine, but some of those bench pieces. I mean, D Rose was just outstanding last year. Kind of hasn't been the same. Kemba Walker, you see, is already on the bench. That was supposed to be their big guy. I just think the New York Knicks, honestly, just overhyped coming into this year. Last year, the East, I just think was also weak, riddled with injuries. I mean, I'm going to go biggest disappointment, though, in the NBA this season. Zion Williamson and the New Orleans Pelicans. And I think this is just a general thing. I mean, Zion Williamson, this is just complete. I don't know what is going on.
I
We've seen
think
things that he's 50 pounds
I
overweight.
have
Then we see
I
pictures
have a
that he
theory. I have a theory.
looks fine. I'm gonna speak. Let me talk, and then you can talk about your theory. I mean, this is just an absolute disaster. I mean, this guy, he looked, very solid his rookie year, all-star. And then all of a sudden, this guy is just, or second year, I guess last year was, but all of a sudden, I mean, this guy is just, he's not even playing. You see today, he's had another setback with that surgically repaired right foot. I mean, I don't know what's going on with him and the New Orleans Pelicans. I mean, this team is just in utter shambles. I mean, after that Anthony Davis trade, you see all those picks. You see they've got Lonzo, they've got Ingram, they've got Zion, they've got young players, and they've done nothing. They let Lonzo walk. Brandon Ingram, he's been an all-star in the past. To be honest, I don't know how he's playing, but I'm assuming it's been mediocre from him, to be honest. Their role players are kind of old and washed up at this point. I mean, I think Valanciunas is their center now. I believe. I think they traded for him.
Did you see that game? He had like 7 threes the other night.
Yeah, that was funny. But I mean, the New Orleans Pelicans, I mean, this is a team, people are raving about David Griffin, and all of a sudden, I mean, this guy's going to be out of the league in a year. I mean, I don't know what is going on with Zion Williamson. I'll let you say your theory. But I mean, it's just crazy at this point that, I mean, this is some weird stuff that's going on with Zion.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he wants to play in New Orleans is my theory. I think there's been some stuff from his family members in the past that says he doesn't want to play in New Orleans. I don't know. Setback after setback after setback. It just becomes, he's not going to play this year. I mean,
No.
He's not playing this year. I really don't think he wants to be there at all. And like you said, the Pelicans are horribly run. Jackson Hayes at 8, Nickeil Alexander-Walker at 11 or 16 or something like that. Brandon Ingram, I think, I have to be honest with you, Griffin, I'm not a fan of Brandon Ingram at all. I don't think he's a winning – I hate to say this about guys. This isn't me, but I just don't think he's a winning player at all. I don't think he's a player that's conducive to winning. I think he gets a lot of points on bad teams. And it's what he's been doing for his entire career, really. But yeah, I mean, the New Orleans Pelicans, what are they doing? Letting Lonzo Ball walk. This is a horribly run out organization. That Jackson Hayes at 8 pick, Griff. Go back and look at the players that were taken out after him. That is a really bad pick. A really bad pick. If you don't mind, I'm going to move to Anthony Davis really quickly. Another one of the NBA's biggest disappointments this year, the Los Angeles Lakers, and specifically Anthony Davis. I mean, I'm sure you've seen it. A lot of their Lakers fans have been targeting their hatred towards Russell Westbrook, but not so recently because he's been on a hot stretch. But Anthony Davis has really not played a great season at all, and I don't want to say he's washed at all, but those injuries certainly look like they're catching up with him. We know he has this thing. I've talked about it before on this podcast, I believe. He doesn't really play the 5. He refuses to play the 5. And obviously there was a quote from a press conference that a lot of Lakers fans weren't too happy with, which is that LeBron can play the 5 when he needs to, which the Lakers would be a lot better if AD would just play the 5. Because he's 6'11" and physical, but I don't know. He's had a huge fall off offensively, and I don't know that bubble, man. I don't know what that bubble did to him, but it certainly did a lot for his reputation and legacy because he is not playing like a superstar or a top 10 guy at all right now.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, yeah, the Lakers, I mean, what a disappointment. Russell Westbrook and AD, I mean, it's just not working, to be honest. And the Lakers, I mean, LeBron's played good.
LeBron's
I mean, he gets a lot of criticism.
Yeah, I mean,
LeBron.
His last few games, I actually want to look it up just to let's see. You can go ahead, keep talking, Griff.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been a big disappointment. I think there's a lot of teams. I mean, the West, to be honest, I mean, you've got the Suns and the Warriors are not playing very good. I mean, the Memphis Grizzlies are the 4th seed. I mean, this is a wide open conference, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think the Warriors, I mean, they've got to be the favorites. They played so good and Clay's come back. I mean, the Jazz, they're always a good regular season team, but we see this team in the playoffs. I mean, I just don't think they're going to ever get to the finals. Phoenix, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, they're 21-4. They had that crazy streak, but I don't know if they'll get back. I mean, I just think the Warriors, I mean, it honestly might be easy for them to get back.
I think you're discounting the Suns a little too easily there. I think they are a really good team. I think I think they're on par with the Warriors. I really do. Until Clay comes back. We'll see how they look when Clay comes back. But I think the Suns are really freaking good.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. But I mean, it's been a crazy NBA season so far. A lot of unexpected stuff. I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, it's been a lot, but I mean, I think we covered kind of most of the headlines, to be honest. Yeah. All right. Well, with that, we're going to talk some NFL as we do on this podcast. I'll pull up the scores from last week's game, and then we'll predict for this week. I mean, the Lions, how about that? They get their first win of the season. Vikings, I mean, in pure, like, utter just, I mean, I don't even know what to say. No Dalvin Cook. We obviously saw them win this past Thursday, and they almost choked. I mean, Justin Jefferson, I think the bottom line from these past few weeks, this kid is just an utter superstar. But the Detroit Lions, they finally got their win, 1-10-1. Dan Campbell gets his one and probably only win as an NFL coach, NFL head coach, I should say.
Yeah, but if he wins 3 games, they're gonna bring him back because it's an excuse to just like keep this like losing around. But I don't know. I mean, yeah, the Vikings, I guess is the verb I'll use. They really Vikings. Just one of the funniest games I've ever seen, I think. Yeah, the Vikings are bad. The Vikings are bad. There's my analysis.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is a game we really need to talk about. I kind of just want to highlight the Detroit Lions. Amon-Ra St. Brown, you see, obviously had a good game. Not much to talk about. These two teams. I mean, the Vikings, I think it's safe to say they'll miss the playoffs this year. Miami wins again. Your Eagles beat up on my Jets, obviously, but I mean, these are kind of irrelevant games. I want to talk about the Chargers and the Bengals here. I mean, Justin Herbert. I mean, I mean, with the Cincinnati Bengals, you think they're going to win and then they lose, and then you think they're going to lose and then they win. I mean, I don't even know what to say about this team.
I predicted Chargers victory last weekend.
You predicted a Bengals win last week. We both did, which is, of course, the Bengals lose.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, the Chargers right now, obviously, they're Keenan Allen, I believe, is on the COVID list this week, so their team might look a little different. I mean, this is a team that looks like they'll be in the playoffs. Justin Herbert, I mean, he's been very inconsistent throughout the season. Kind of seems like he's settled down and is starting to have a little more consistency, playing very strong. But the Cincy Bengals, I mean, I don't even know. Joe Burrow, he's obviously got that finger issue now. I mean, that could be a serious problem for this team. I don't know, but what are your thoughts on this game on both these teams?
I think Justin Herbert is very, very good. But I don't know. The Chargers defense really showed out on Sunday. They had a really good performance. I don't know. I think this team is very reliant on how their defense performs. Like any defense is. Yeah, I mean, I can't even like analyze the AFC because whenever I say it's just gonna look stupid the next week.
Yeah.
I think these two teams, in all truth, to tell you the truth, are very close to one another. I think the Chargers are still a threat in the AFC with a quarterback like Justin Herbert and that defense. I think that's a defense that could go and win anywhere when they're on their day. Just they need to be on their day more often. Yeah, good one for the Chargers. It's
not much to say. I agree.
I don't even know.
I mean, it's just
Jamar Chase's
Cincy Bank. Both inconsistent teams, I think, is what bottom line. These teams they're solid in talent, but they're both just very inconsistent in how they perform. I mean, we've seen both these teams have major blowout wins and then get blown out by teams that they should beat. I mean, the Cincinnati Bengals, they got killed by the Cleveland Browns that 1 week. I mean, that was ugly. And then you see this week again, but then they go up and beat up on the Ravens and they beat up on the Raiders. And it's just so weird. There's so many weird teams. We've used the term fraudulent a lot. I don't know if these teams are fraudulent, but they're just not consistent. There's no consistency other, to be honest, than the New England Patriots right now. And maybe the Kansas City Chiefs with how they've played in terms of the AFC. Everyone else has been so inconsistent, so up in the air. Besides the Pats and the Chiefs have played well recently, so you can throw them in there. Those two teams, I mean, everyone else, it is a total shit show, to be honest, in terms of the AFC and who's going to be in the playoff.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, 7 in a row for Bill Belichick. What a surprise.
7 in a row. That game, I mean, it's tough to really talk about that game.
Yeah, I mean,
I do real quick. I want to touch on I'm going to talk about it because I'm honestly very intrigued. The Washington football team have kind of found their formula for success. I'm going to be honest, Rob. I'm liking how this team's playing. I know you're shaking your head as an Eagles fan. You don't want to picture it. but they're running the ball. Antonio Gibson has looked fantastic these last few weeks. Heineke's playing well. They go beat up on the Raiders. Not beat up, but close win. Their defense is finally playing well. That D-line starting to show up a little bit. I know you're going to be a little biased, but I mean, Washington football team right now, running the ball as well as they are, playing in the trenches, they're looking pretty good. You got to be honest.
And they look good. Yeah, I mean, they've looked good. I mean, they've won a lot of close games. I'm not sure how sustainable that is.
You got to love it.
Yeah.
All right.
Their season,
I just wanted to bring it up real quick.
No, listen. Their season and the Eagles season will come down to their 2 games against each other. Simple as that. They're going to be competing against each other for the wild card spot 2 weeks from now and 4 weeks from now. We'll see. I'm going to go with an Eagles sweep in both of those games because
oh Lord,
I just think Washington, they're so fraudulent. What a fraudulent victory.
Oh,
What
yeah.
a Mickey Mouse.
The Eagles aren't fraud. The Eagles are very fraudulent.
The Eagles
are
less
less than New York Football Giants.
Are you telling me that Washington also shouldn't have lost to the Football Giants in Week 3 this year? Do you not remember that horrible game?
Yeah, but they won that ball game, if I'm not mistaken.
Because of a offsides by a Giants player on the last field goal. Click on
the ball game.
Just click on Washington's schedule for a second. Let's go see. So that's a victory by 6 points, 2 points, 2 points, 4 points.
You got
10
week
points.
2. They won by a point. They got to go with the Bills. They won by 4.
Look at do you know that the Philadelphia Eagles have the 8th best point differential in the NFL?
Yeah, because they've beat up on like 2 teams. Like the Eagles are not that impressive. I hate to say it. I mean, look, they beat up on the Lions 44-6. They beat up on the Lions and 32-6 on the Falcons. Of course, they're going to have a good point differential.
I don't see the Bucks beating up on the Atlanta Falcons 32-6.
I don't see you beating up on the Bucks. You lost to the Bucks, and Washington football beat the Bucks. So there's that. And the Bucks are one of the top consensus teams. I mean, look, they've got 2 matchups with Dallas. So I mean, schedule-wise, I believe you guys have an easier schedule. I mean, you guys play Washington twice, Cowboys and the Giants.
I don't like that at the end of the year 4 divisional games. I feel like they should be spread throughout the year.
That's how it is. I mean, the Washington's if they sweep you guys and the Giants, they're in the playoffs.
All right, so let's see.
They can lose both to Dallas. They sweep you and they beat the New York Football Giants.
Yeah, but they're not going to sweep us. They're not going to sweep us.
I believe they have a very good chance of sweeping.
If they sweep us, Griffin, I will be in Italy. During the first of these games. But if the Washington football team sweeps the Eagles, sweeps them, give me a bet. Give me a bet to do it live on the pod. I'll do it live on the podcast.
Bet to do? I don't know. We'll figure something out.
We'll figure something out.
We'll get a little bet. All right, Washington. Spent a lot of time on the Washington football team. Real quick, and then we'll jump to the projections because, I mean, this game, it's just 2 bad teams, honestly, and it was just a disaster. Pats Bills. I mean, this is one of the weirdest games. I actually shout out Nicky Wind if you're watching this. I'm playing him in fantasy. I was down 15 points. I was up 15 points. He had Diggs and had Breida. Because of all this weather, I ended up winning this game, as crazy as it was. I mean, the New England Patriots, you see Mac Jones right here, 2 for 3, 19 yards. I mean, just ridiculous. I mean, New England, they've just found their groove. I mean, you see Buffalo, they just had no chance. I mean, New England, I mean, the defense, Matt Judon is just, I mean, he's honestly, I don't know his full stats, but to me, Matt Judon, from what I've seen, I mean, this guy's got to be up for DPOY from all the sacks and everything. I mean, this guy's been one of the best players of the year, to be honest, on defense, from what I've seen. New England's defense, so good. This offensive line, just magnificent. For the Buffalo Bills, I mean, this is serious concern. I mean, this looks like a potential, dynasty team, not dynasty, but one of those teams that's going to be a powerhouse for multiple years. And all of a sudden, I mean, that championship window, Trey White's looks like it might be close for the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They're just not that good, to be honest with you. They're not. I mean, they're not the best team in their own division. Yeah, that's all I really have to say. I just don't think they're that good. They'll make the playoffs and they'll lose in the first round on the road. And what a disappointing year. Because they were, I mean, whatever. Josh Allen had a freak year in 2020. It happens. I've seen it before. Carson Wentz was literally the quarterback of my favorite team.
Carson Wentz, You hate on Carson Wentz, but he has been very good this year. He has been very good for the Indianapolis Colts.
He has been serviceable.
But he's been more than serviceable this year.
He has
in
been
the right
top,
system with a good offensive line and good play calling.
So he needs the best running back in the NFL, and he needs an elite offensive line. He needs a good collection of wide receivers. That's why he's not an elite quarterback.
He's not had a good collection of wide. He has Michael Pittman, T.Y. Hilton.
Michael Pittman.
Yeah, that's elite. That.
His 158 for a touchdown, 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, 1 touchdown. This guy might be one of the most mid quarterbacks I've ever seen. Run for 20.
I'm not saying he's better. I'm not saying he's elite, but I'm saying
3,300 yards.
I'm saying Carson Wentz. I'd rather have Carson Wentz than Jalen Hurts right now. I'm going to be honest.
Well, I agree with you. I think Jalen Hurts that's not exactly a statement praising Jalen Hurts. I think Jalen Hurts is like somewhere in like the 20th to 22nd quarterback in the league, and Carson Wentz is like 15th to 18th.
Yeah, Carson Wentz is right in the middle. I'm saying, but
why are you giving
him a lot of slack?
I don't. Right, I would say right in the middle. I would say right in the middle is serviceable. That's serviceable.
Okay.
He's serviceable.
Okay. Serviceable.
But yeah, I mean, back to my original point. I think the Patriots are really freaking good. They can run the ball very well. So yeah.
Yeah, they've got a elite run offense, to say the least. All right. On to predictions. A good amount of games this week. Few teams on bye. I am down right now 86 to 79 for our predictions. So not looking good. I still have with the extended week. How many games are there? It's 18 weeks of the season. So 14, 15, 16, 17. I have 5 weeks to make up 8 points or 7 points.
It's tough, Griffin.
It's possible. That's very possible. We'll see. I'm going to need a big week. First game of the week, Saints, Jets. I'm going to pick the New Orleans Saints here. The New York Jets are just very bad. Elijah Moore just went on IR today. That's been their best player. Corey Davis out for the season. This will be I don't know if the Jets will win another game this year. Setting themselves up for another top pick. Hopefully they can land one of those edge rushers or a Derek Stingley. I mean, that Kyle Hamilton, another good piece. There's a lot of good defensive players. That's what the Jets need at this point. Just defense. The offensive playmakers will come. Zach Wilson's still a long ways away. But yeah, New York Jets not going to win this one. I'll give it to New Orleans, even though the Saints suck as well. But Kamara should be back, and I mean Kamara alone should be able to beat the Jets.
Yeah, Jets are Saints are going to win this game. The Saints are terrible, but the Jets are even more terrible. The Jets have nothing going for them at all. I don't really get your head coach either, Griffin. I don't really think he's anything special.
Yeah, we got to see. Time's going to tell with the New York Jets right now. That's their thing at the moment.
How long has that been their thing?
Next game. Falcons, Panthers. This is a weird one, honestly. Who are you thinking?
I'm going to go with the Falcons here. I think the Panthers are god awful. I think there's a lot of scapegoating going on with the firing of Joe Brady, which I really wasn't a fan of that move. And while I'm a big Matt Rule fan because he was the Temple coach, I'm not sure whether he's cut out for the NFL level at all. And I'm going to go with the Falcons here. I think they actually can beat up on some bad teams, and I think they're going to beat up on the Panthers this weekend.
I need points, so I kind of wanted to see what you were going to go for, and I think this is kind of a toss-up. So I'm going to go with the Carolina Panthers here. I think this is one of the games I could get a point back on. And I think the Panthers actually have a good chance. I mean, they're coming off their bye week. Cam Newton, I think this is going to be a crucial week for him to kind of reset, get back on track. Obviously, CMC's done for the year, but Chuba Hubbard played very, he was serviceable, as you like to say, when he was in there. And that defense, I think, will be the best unit on the field. I mean, Falcons have played solid. Are they competing for the playoffs potentially? 5-7? Not really. I mean, both these teams are 5-7. To me, this is a playoff eliminator game. Whoever loses this will be essentially done. And I think just the Panthers are a better team. I think Falcons defense is going to struggle potentially with Cam. I think DJ Moore's due for a good game. So I'm going to take the Panthers. I feel good about that. I'm going to go into the next one. I'm going to take the Seattle Seahawks. As bad as they've been, as bad as they even looked last week at times, they did beat the 49ers, which was a team we thought was maybe headed to the playoffs. We'll revisit them. They've got a big game this week against Cincy. But the Houston Texans, you hear them, Davis Mills, the starter for the year. This team sucks. They've won 2 games, which is impressive in itself. But I'm going to go Seattle here, which sucks for the Jets pick. But Seattle was due to win some games at some point. So, you got to take the Seahawks in this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Seahawks here as well. Jets. The Texans are terrible, man. There are a lot of terrible teams this year.
Yeah, really. Chiefs Raiders. I think both of us are going to be taking the Chiefs here. Raiders. I mean, they've gone through a lot this year. They've played some very good football at times. 6-6. I mean, this is a team that they're looking in on the playoffs. They've maybe got some hope, but Kansas City's defense has just been exceptional this year, and the Raiders have been the team to beat up on the Chiefs in the past. So I mean, you cannot count the Raiders out in this kind of game. But John Gruden's not there anymore. I don't know. I don't think he was there, I guess, when they played earlier in the year. And it was a pretty good game. Or no, the Chiefs blew him out. Never mind. I think we'll see Kelsey more involved, Reek more involved. I mean, those guys were non-existent last week. You got to expect those guys will have bigger weeks. So I'm going to go Chiefs here. Their offense, I think, is due for a boom kind of game in this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Chiefs here as well. Yeah, I think for the rest of the season, I know the Chargers are close, but to me, the Chiefs have the AFC the AFC West locked. And I think the rest of the season is just getting that offense back on track because the defense certainly has. I mean, the defense has been performing at a really high level for the past 5 or 6 weeks. Yeah, I do agree. I think this is the week where the Kansas City Chiefs get their offense back on track. And I'm going to go with them.
Browns Ravens. What do you think?
I know you're going to pick the Browns, but I'm going to pick the Ravens here. They've had a lot of close games, and it finally caught up to them last weekend. It finally freaking caught up to them, but I'm still going to go with the Ravens because I think the Browns suck. So, yeah, and I think Baker Mayfield is terrible. So I'm going to go with the Ravens.
It's tough. I'm tempted to pick the Browns coming off the bye. I think they'll have a chance to reset, which is what they need. Baker Mayfield will be a week healthier. They're banged up, though, right now, but the Ravens are banged up. Marlon Humphrey's out for the season. I'm going to go with the Cleveland Browns in this one at home at the dog pound. I need points as well, so that's kind of another reason. I want to be a little optimistic about the Browns here, too. I mean, this is a crucial week. The Ravens have just not been good recently. I'm going to be honest. I mean, people saying Lamar at the beginning of the year, this guy's incredible, one of a kind, MVP. I mean, that's just been immediately shot down. This guy, at this point, has been a mediocre quarterback in this league this year. I mean, the touchdown interception ratio, nearly 50-50 at this point. I know he's so talented on the ground, but passing wise, I know he's not going to, but this is the best he's had to work with, honestly. So yeah. I don't even know if there's really an excuse for that. This is the best wide receiver group, the best tight ends really he's ever been able to play with. So I don't know, man. Lamar's not looked good. Browns coming off a bye. I think they've got to get the run game more involved. I mean, that last week in Baltimore, I know that was a very weird game, but you have got to run the ball with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt more. I mean, that's your offense. That's your identity. And them getting away from that, lost them that game. I think they'll get back to it, and I think they'll rebound this week with a W against the Baltimore Ravens.
I just wanted to say, I don't know if you saw the report, and that's why they brought it up, but Zion got shut down from all basketball.
Yeah, I did. I kind of threw it in there, but I didn't really.
I didn't see it. Sorry, I didn't see that specific report at all. Sorry about that. Yeah, crazy. Cowboys.
Right. I know.
I'm going to take the Dallas Cowboys here for all the reasons I stated earlier on the podcast. I'll leave this one to Griff. He's going to pick Washington, I would assume.
I'm going to pick Washington. I'm just in a dire need for points here at this point. And I honestly I'm riding the momentum at this point with Washington. I picked them earlier in the year to beat the Bills. That really cost me. I've kind of been off them a little bit since, but I did pick them to win last week. I'm liking what they're doing. Antonio Gibson is looking great. And the Dallas Cowboys, to be honest, have not looked good recently. Tony Pollard might be out. Zeke has not played well. I mean, we'll see if Amari gets more involved this week, but the Dallas Cowboys have been very sketchy as of late in terms of their offense. It really has just not been elite in recent stages. We'll see what happens. I like the football team. I like the way they can also control the clock. This is one of the better teams in terms of managing the game clock. They can really choose some time. And I think that's just the key with some of these, when you're going up against teams who have great offenses, just keep the ball out of guys like Dak Prescott's hands. And they did that with Brady. I mean, they went on like an 11-minute drive or something outrageous. I mean, that was crazy, like a 20-play drive. I'm going to pick them. I need points. And I honestly like them in this matchup at home. So Washington in this one.
All right. I'm going to go.
This next game, I'm going to be honest, this next game is like a toss-up for me.
I don't see it, man. I think the Jaguars are a disaster right now. I'm sure we talked about it earlier, but Urban Meyer, Marvin Jones, obviously verbally sparring a couple days ago.
Yeah.
This team is a disaster. Urban Meyer needs to go. I'm not really sure how anyone thought this was going to work out at the NFL level besides the Khan family. And I think they're probably the only people that thought that, and that's how he got the job. I think the Jaguars just need an offensive-minded head coach, someone with experience in the league, like a Doug Peterson type. I'm not saying him specifically, but
What if they go out and get Dabo with Trevor and Etienne there? I mean,
no, I just think the college. I think the college.
they shouldn't, but with this organization, I mean, they're just a disaster.
Yeah.
You never know what they're going to.
I mean, I think that Travis Etienne pick. What the
Oh, that's
hell
one of the
was
worst.
that pick? What? First off, it's a first-round running back. That's the first no. And then you already have James Robinson on your roster. What are you doing? Yeah, I mean, and it seems like Urban has like all control over the organization, which is really bad. Really, really, really bad. I think this organization, I don't think they're going to win another game for the rest of the year. So I'm going to go with the Titans here.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I don't want to pick them, Tennessee's so banged up, but you got to pick them. I mean, the Jaguars just suck. I mean, this is embarrassing. I mean, the Urban Meyer, if he's not gone at the end of the year, I mean, this is crazy. I mean, the Jaguars are just awful. You feel for Trevor Lawrence. I mean, this guy, he's really struggled this year, to be honest. He's not looked good.
I don't even think.
I mean, what are you supposed to do with those weapons? I mean, he's throwing the nobodies, and that offensive line is made of paper, and the play call has just got off. I mean, we'll see what his future holds, but I mean, he really might have been screwed, honestly, by this year. We'll see. I mean, he's just not been anything special. But Tennessee, I mean, I don't even want to talk about Tennessee. They're just a mediocre team. If they make the playoffs, which I guess they will because they're early success, they'll get bounced immediately. This team is not good. They're very fraudulent. I feel comfortable using that word with them. But they will win this game. The Jaguars just utter garbage, to be honest with them. To be honest with everyone.
Griff, Corey Linsley, the Chargers All-Pro center, might be hurt.
That's cool. Might be hurt, like bad.
Well, no one knows who their backup center is. I think he might miss. I think he might miss the game tomorrow. I'm not 100% sure.
They're playing the New York football.
They're playing the Giants anyway. Whatever.
Yeah. Lions Broncos. I mean, these teams both suck. The Bronco. I mean, Vic Fangio, your guy. He's still in office.
He still is, isn't he? He still is that old bastard. I'm gonna back Vic Fangio this weekend, and I'm gonna take the Lions or the Broncos at home. And I think this is mostly motivated with the fact that I want the Lions to have a 1-11-1 record, so just 4 wins in a row. I don't know if that's ever happened before. So
I'm gonna go Denver too. I mean, I think Denver sucks. I think Teddy Bridgewater, the fact that this man's being run out there by John Elway I think John Elway's not.
He's gone.
He's gone, yeah. So no wonder. But I mean, to run out Teddy Bridgewater as your starting quarterback, I mean, Denver's got to be one of those teams that you got to think will land one of these big quarterbacks and trade next year. You have to. I mean,
because I think
their offense. I mean, it's just I don't really know what's going on in Denver, to be honest. I mean, this defense, they've got their pieces, but offensively, you just paid Cortland Sutton $60 million or so, Tim Patrick $30 million. You're not even using these guys. Jerry Jeudy doesn't even see the ball. I mean, I mean, Jerry Jeudy's career is just getting wasted at this point. We haven't seen Jerry Jeudy in any way, shape, or form be used at this point. He's being used on like 4-round slants. I mean,
their wide receiver corps should hypothetically be one of the best in the NFL up there with the Cowboys.
And they're not doing anything. It's incredible. It is incredible.
Like you said, they're trotting out either Teddy Bridgewater or Drew Lock. So not good.
I mean, look, I'm going to be honest. This Denver team next year could be legit. Javonte Williams looks fantastic. If they get a legit quarterback and a good head coach who can really call some good plays, I mean, this team is going to be a serious contender in my mind. I mean, let's say you put Aaron Rodgers on this team.
Yeah, of course.
And you bring in a head coach who has experience and who has a lot of success. This team is an instant playoff team. Might even be able to take over the Chiefs as the head of the AFC West, if I'm being honest. I mean, that team is their offense theoretically is loaded.
So your solution for the Broncos would be to A, get an elite head coach with experience, and B, trade for one of the best quarterbacks of all time. I think you could be running a lot of the teams with those ideas.
I'm messing
with you.
I know, but
I'm messing.
I mean, Rodgers they've been linked to, but in terms of just the head coach, I mean, they just need someone who it works with. I think is what I'm trying to say, and that things, it's not a disaster. You know what I'm saying? but they suck this year. But the Lions are worse. I'll lead us into the next game. I mean, I don't even know if we'll talk. I mean, this is the Chargers versus the football Giants. I don't even know Daniel Jones. I think it might be
No,
Jake
Mike.
Fromm
It's Mike.
starting it.
No, it's Mike Glennon. It's Mike Glennon.
Glennon's good to go. Okay.
Yeah, Glennon cleared concussion protocol, so he's playing.
Give me the Chargers by 30 points in this one.
Yeah.
This next game is a true. I have no idea. 49ers Bengals. Debo Samuel might play. He might not. What'd you say?
Bengals one would be so big for the Eagles. Jesus.
So you're gonna go Bengals then for your fandom?
No, I'm gonna go 49ers here actually. I think they're a better team than the Bengals, and I think the Bengals might be going on a little bit of a losing skid. And this would be a very bad loss because they dropped to 7-6. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Niners here. I'm gonna go with the
Bengals. Elijah Mitchell's out, and that's been their key. I mean, Jeff Wilson, JaMychal Hasty's going to go. I don't know if Debo Samuel will play. He practiced on Friday, but he might be out. I think Cincy, I mean, Joe Burrow's got that finger issue, but Joe Mixon's played so good. You've got to get Jamar Chase more involved. He's really been a non-existent. T. Higgins obviously has had a lot of success. Defense has played well. I'm going to go with the Bengals. 49ers, bad loss last week. And I think, this team, we saw Kittle really have a huge week. But, I mean, we'll see. If Debo's out, I just don't think they have a shot, especially with Elijah Mitchell out. He has been such a great find for them. He is obviously going to be the new star running back in San Francisco. But I'm going to go with the Bengals here for various reasons. I'll leave us in the next game. We'll both pick the Bucks here, I'm assuming. I mean, the Bills suck. Bucks, pretty good ball club over there.
Yeah, the Bills suck. So I already gave my thoughts on the Bucks. So and on the Bills, and I think the Bucks. Where's their record right now? What are they? 8-3, 9-3?
9-3, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I think this game was going to go a long way. I just think Brady's going to lock in. I just think you're just going to see MVP Tom Brady down the stretch, and I think there's a good shot he wins it too. So, Buccaneers by a billion in this game for some alliteration.
And this next game's easy as well. This will be the Green Bay Packers, even with Justin Fields coming back. I mean, Justin Fields, he's kind of struggled, but I mean, at home at Lambeau, primetime Sunday night. I mean, you're just not going to beat Aaron Rodgers at that spot.
Yeah, agreed. And like he said earlier, he owns the Bears. So yeah.
Yeah. He does. I mean, this game should be good. Rams Cardinals. Darrell Henderson, I believe, was just placed on the COVID list. So Sony Michel will be back at it once again. What are your thoughts on this one?
I'm going to go with the Cardinals here. I think they're a much better team than the Rams, and that'll be 4 out of their last 5 drops for the Rams. So yeah, I think the Cardinals. Kyler Murray's playing right, like 100%.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he's been awesome this year, and I think he's going to be too much for the Rams to handle. And I'm going to go with the Cardinals here.
I'm going to go with the Rams. I think they kind of got back on track last week. I know it was the Jaguars, but I think that was such a huge win momentum-wise for them. They kind of figured it out. They've got various guys involved. Cooper Kupp, just an utter sensation. And Sony Michel played really well last week. I think the defense finally had a good week that they can use as momentum and, really some things to build on. I think the Cardinals are a great team. I expect this to be a fantastic game. Kind of just a gut feeling. And I really want to have a lot of opportunities to get some points here, get some points back. I mean, this will be the week. If I lose 4, I think we picked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different games this week. So it's either going to be over, I'm screwed and done, or I'm right back in our little challenge here. So it could be fun. We'll see what happens, but I'm going to pick the Rams. I do honestly like them, though, in this matchup. I think they might get the job done.
Yeah, I mean, I just think the Cardinals are a really good football team. I mean, I just don't believe in the Rams. If I'm gonna say possibly, I'm gonna save it for later. But I have a very controversial Matt Stafford take that I'll keep to myself.
Well, I guess we'll hear it another time then. But that will do it for this week's episode of Outside the Arena. Some UFC tonight as well. I know we didn't talk about that. Make sure, obviously.
Just want to interject.
What you said?
The Rams have a brutal end to the season. They have the Cardinals, the 49ers, and the Ravens. And they got to go. I know Minnesota sucks. They do have to go on the road and play Minnesota.
That's always an interesting game.
Yeah.
But yeah, that will do it for this week's episode of Outside the Arena. Make sure if you haven't already, please like, comment, subscribe, do all that. Check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts at Outside the Arena there. Check us out on Instagram at Outside the Arena Podcast. Our Instagrams will be in the description as well. And yeah, with that, enjoy Sunday football once again. NBA is going strong. Everything's doing really well in the sports world right now. So with that, take it easy, and we'll see you next week on Outside the Arena.